Roll Tide. Live from the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, this is the College Football Playoff Preview Show, presented by Dunkin on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Dunkin, so close we can taste it. Bama runs on Dunkin. The College Football Playoff Preview Show is also brought to you by Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places. And by Cook's Pest Control and Centricon, the unbeatable combination for termite protection. Now, here's Chris Stewart.
And welcome everybody. As we told you a few moments ago, the professional announcer did anyway. This is the College Football Playoff Rose Bowl Preview Show presented by Dunkin. Bama runs on Dunkin, and the Tide faithful have run to Los Angeles, and it is great to have a packed house here getting ready for Coach Nick Saban in about a half hour. I'm Chris Stewart, along with Bama quarterback from days gone by and our broadcast partner now, the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Number 14 in the house, Tyler Watts. Good to see you,
Thank you, sir. Good to be here, Chris, and it is awfully awesome to be here in L.A. A couple weeks ago, we weren't sure if we're going to have an opportunity to not only be participating in the college football playoff, but we're going to win the SEC, whatever. But here we are. This team has really come on strong here as of recently.
I do want to know real quickly, we hadn't talked about this, but your reaction, were you watching the show when they came in and made the announcement that we were all very thrilled to hear Alabama was one of the top four?
I remember several years ago, what was it, when we had the second and 22 and Tua threw the touchdown to win that national championship. Was that 2018, I believe it was?
Yeah, Tua in 26.
You know, everybody else was probably the same way. I'm sitting there in church and we're going through announcements, and all of a sudden everybody kind of erupts in the crowd at the same time because we made the college football. I'm in the Piggly Wiggly buying some groceries the day after the SEC championship game. The same thing happened there in the checkout line as everyone goes nuts as we were awarded that fourth spot.
Television, and I'm not going to say I'd given up hope, but I was not as enthused as I had been when I left the booth the night before. Who'd expected them to do the right thing? But they absolutely did, and Alabama was one of the four, and excited about the opportunity to see the Tide play in the semifinal game. And again, all the more special that it is in the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, coming up in 2 days. We invite you to keep up with everything Alabama with the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app presented by Cadence Bank. It's available at the App Store and at Google Play. Download that Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app now for free. You're listening to the College Football Playoff Rose Bowl Preview Show presented by Dunkin, and it's live from the Intercontinental Hotel Los Angeles right here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Rolling down Imperial Highway, the big nasty red at my side. Santa Ana winds blowing hot from the north, and we were born to ride. Roll down the window, put down the top, crank up the Beach Boys, baby. Don't let the music stop. We gonna ride it till we just can't ride it no more. From the side bay to the valley, from the west side to the east side, everybody very happy, 'cause the sun is shining
snaps it, hands to Jace. Jace stumbles, he's on his feet, retains his balance, carries it in. Touchdown, Alabama! Touchdown, Alabama. Robbie Oots with a block. And the run-in by Jace McClellan, who I don't quite know how he didn't lose his footing, but that's why he's there and I'm up here.
The legendary Eli Gold on the call, part of Alabama's SEC championship season run. Boy, that does not get old. The 30th in school history, but a very different way, Tyler Watts, of arriving at that as we welcome everybody back to the College Football Playoff Rose Bowl preview show presented by Dunkin. This is not the destination that many would have given Bama a good chance to be in. Oh, man. Certainly when we walked out of Bryant-Denny Stadium in week 2, I guess, and maybe even less the count who would have given Bama an opportunity to be here after the South Florida win. But yet, things certainly turned.
Well, let me back up even a few weeks prior to that. We're sitting there doing some scrimmages in preparation for the season, and I see, longtime color analyst Phil Savage after that ball game, and he opened my eyes to something. He goes, "Hey, listen, I've been all around the country scouting these guys. Y'all are much bigger than every other team that I've seen to this point, but you might not be as fast as some other teams." And how that, for the first time, I was like, we might be in trouble. But this team has kind of changed its identity. I think we have plenty of guys that are quick of foot and have the speed to, especially on the defensive side. I think that's the great equalizer as the offense finally figured out about midway through the season during the Tennessee game of who they were going to be, what their strengths were, and how they could capitalize on that and become the product that we see today.
But also how much of that speed comes into play when you have a better understanding of what it is you're supposed to do.
Amen to that. Yeah, and we've seen that across the front, especially with players a little bit confused potentially of exactly what they were supposed to be doing early on in the season, giving up a lot of sacks against Texas and early on in the year, and then get more and more confident. And we'll talk about Caden Proctor, I'm sure. He had his best game versus Georgia where he looked like a completely different player than he did just 4 weeks prior to that point. I mean, he looked like a seasoned veteran in that ball game, getting one-on-one opportunities and taking advantage of them, just dominating his opponent because he understood what his responsibility was and he could play to the speed that he's able to.
This team didn't give up on each other. It would have been really easy to do so after not the Texas game, but when things are not going as you're accustomed to them going, in that South Florida game in particular. But I go back to the last drive, and even though it was not Jalen Milroe, it was Ty Simpson, the switch seemed to flip right there. It looked like Alabama, I think there were 6.5 minutes to go. They take 6 minutes off the clock, put it in the end zone, put the game out of reach. And I know people didn't immediately start making reservations for Pasadena after that, but you felt like, okay, we can make bowl plans. And everybody felt better about what you could be, and clearly they used that momentum to go into the Ole Miss game a week later.
Is that not the best thing about football over other sports? Is this truly is a team aspect? I mean, it's not a hand the ball to a pitcher and he can go shut down your opponent, or in basketball, give it to Michael Jordan or LeBron James or whoever, and they can go out and score 60 and you win the ball game. It literally takes everyone rallying around one another on both sides of the ball. And even in that game, I think I even mentioned to you, I'm not concerned about South Florida scoring because they are not moving the ball against this defense today unless we give up just some sort of catastrophic type of play, and we didn't. But offensively, you knew things would eventually come around. And you could even see with the coaching staff, they weren't worried. They were just going to let it develop, and almost like guys, we've been showing you what we expect, and here you're doing it your way, and this is what you get, and if you do it our way, this is what you get.
May not be Michael Jordan or LeBron, but there was one player who certainly turned his game around, and it helped turn the season around. We'll talk about Jalen Milroe on the other side of the break. We do remind you that to get into the show tonight, just give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing hotline. Coach Saban will be with us in about 20 minutes, and your questions for Coach will be taken on that Yellowhammer Brewing hotline at 877-202-BAMA. And also, we remind you that our college football – I'm going to keep going. I knew I was going to trip at some point. The College Football Playoff Rose Bowl preview show presented by Dunkin is also brought to you by Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer or explore Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. We're back right after this from the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
A minute 9 to go until the end of the half. We're tied at 14. Here's Milroe on the far hash mark. Steps up. He's got running room. He turns it upfield. He turns on the afterburners, and he scores!
This is the CFP Rose Bowl preview show presented by Dunkin. Bama runs on Dunkin. If you can't make it to Pasadena for the game, make sure you run to your local Baumhower's Victory Grill. Dine in and watch the game or order online to cater your own Big Bama tailgate party. From legendary party-ready trays to their award-winning chicken wings, Baumhower's Victory Grill is your official watch party location of the Crimson Tide. Chris Stewart, Tyler Watts, our producer Tom Stipe, studio engineer Jerry Kelly back with you as we continue with our show from the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. We're about 15 minutes or so away from head coach Nick Saban joining us live here on site. We've got a great room, a packed house that has joined us for this event, the Team Hotel. Tyler, it's got to be, as a player, so much fun to get to this part of the season. And I know you weren't involved in a playoff, but you played in a major bowl game, the Orange Bowl, to have the last few days that as a player you do get to enjoy. A lot of family around, friends, fans, and it's one of the few times you're able to take a deep breath and enjoy the venue a little bit and the Alabama fan base as you get ready for a game itself.
Yeah, it's a great part of the season for these guys. I mean, it's their hard work throughout the course of the season has led up to this. Now, as you just mentioned, I've never been in a place where we were playing for a national championship, so I can't really relate to that. However, these guys have. They know what it's like. They've been here before just 2 years ago, and now they're getting an opportunity, especially the older guys, to really reflect and kind of, I think, take pause and understand of everything that they've accomplished and where they are in the season and truly have an appreciation for all that they've accomplished.
You're right. There are some who have been in this situation, but there are others who have not. When you're a veteran trying to help younger guys or new guys, as is the case now in the game of college football with transfers as they are, how do you help your teammates understand what they're about to go into when they haven't done so before? Whether it's a rivalry game, whether it's their first game, or whether it's a game the magnitude of an Orange Bowl or the Rose Bowl?
You know, I think that young people, young players especially, are looking for the example that the older guys are setting with their behavior, their demeanor, their attention to detail, their focus in preparation of practice as well as games, and they mimic that. And that's not something that was learned by the upperclassmen. They learned it when they were younger as well. It was just kind of something that trickles down from class to class. And Lord knows we are very blessed here at this university to have multiple football players that have come through this program and set the example of how you properly do it. So I think that they learn from that. And then also, when you're respected as an older player and you call out somebody if they're not doing something right, they understand, they listen to you, and they change, and they do what they're supposed to do. So it's both, but majority of the time I believe it's the younger guys mimicking and watching how the older guys prepare themselves, and they want to be that. That's how they want to suit because they have that much respect for those guys.
In the last segment, we were talking about the growth and development of players in really groups of players, but there's one guy who's transformed, grown, developed, that without his doing all of those things I just referenced, Alabama's not in this position right now. And, of course, I'm talking about the quarterback, Jalen Milroe. From a quarterback's perspective, what has allowed him to go from where he was in week 2, week 3, to where he is today?
Several of the things he said over the last couple of weeks I've really taken notice of is he appears to be extremely coachable. He wants to become a better player, therefore he takes constructive criticism well. A lot of guys, when they get yelled at, when they get corrected in a film room, they take it personally and they kind of go in a shell, and it prevents them from becoming better. He appears to truly take that to heart and try to improve upon it. So, first of all, being coachable. And he's got all the talent in the world. It's just a matter of polishing it up. And he just continues to take little strides throughout the course of the year to get better. But I really think that, you know, at 2 points in the season that I was like, hey, this could be a defining moment. And the first one was actually the Texas game. I remember Coach Saban in the postgame conference is talking about, did he consider making a change at the quarterback position? And he said, yes, I did. That was a little bit shocking. He said, I walked over to the bench, though, and I looked Jalen Milroe in the eye, and I could tell he still had confidence in himself, even after the 2 turnovers that resulted in 10 points for Texas. It ended up being the difference in the ballgame. He still felt that he could get it done. And let me tell you something. As a player, you look for that in the eyes of everybody that you play with, and it's something you always want to make sure that you have yourself, is that I'm still in it. You don't want to go in the shock and be seeing ghosts and things of that nature, and apparently he wasn't. That shows that he's a competitor, and he wanted to continue to get out there. And he immediately went back out, led his football team down the field for a score. That was the first one. Then the second one was in the Tennessee game. We get down 13-0, I believe it was, and he didn't play particularly well in the first half, and then immediately turned it on, whether it be taking a shot for a touchdown, then getting up, getting the crowd into the game, finally really utilizing all the tools that he had with his legs, as well as incorporating that into his ball, into his game, really opened up his abilities to do some positive things throughout. And you could just tell it was all coming together, and it was just getting better and better and better every single week. And what happens, you elevate the game of everyone around you. And then you go into the SEC championship game, and you probably don't play your best game, but everyone else is playing so good around you, you still are able to beat the best team in the country by 3.
That was nice. That was fun. Did y'all enjoy that? I enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. It's the reason that we're here now. Alabama's SEC championship win over the Georgia Bulldogs, which put the Tide in the Rose Bowl, the college football playoff, the semifinal matchup against the Michigan Wolverines, and we are excited about seeing the Tide roll on 2 days on January 1st. Our program is, again, brought to you by Dunkin, and Bama, like America, runs on Dunkin. We're coming back. We got a lot more to cover as we are about 10 minutes or so away from Coach Nick Saban joining us here at our CFP Rose Bowl preview show on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Now Rodgers will throw it downfield. That's going to be picked off. Intercepted by Downs. His first pick in an Alabama uniform. He's forced out of bounds near the 35. Alabama's defense turns away the Dogs again. Third interception of the night by the Bama D.
Our coverage of the Rose Bowl is presented in part by Everwood, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Tyler Watts, the Bama defense, looking like the Alabama defense once again. And, yeah, there are some veterans that are fantastic, none better than Dallas Turner, who has rightfully earned consensus All-American honors. But the development of a guy like Caleb Downs, awfully big for this Alabama football team.
And it was really no surprise either. I mean, we knew in the preseason that this he stood out, and you knew that there was something special that he had within him, and he has just played outstanding all season long. And what I've really enjoyed is watching him, moving him around, especially late in the season, bringing him down into the box against some big tight ends. And Michigan's got a bunch of really good tight ends that we're going to face Monday night. So he's been multiple in what he's been able to do because he's so physical, but he's also able to match up with some slot receivers as well.
All right, so we were talking before the break about Jalen Milroe and his development. But I think one of the, you see it all the time. Teams with a great offense, you got to have a great receiver. But great teams or championship teams have to have a couple of them. And Alabama has certainly developed multiple weapons. And I think that's one of the things that's made Alabama's offense so tough. They've been able to spread the wealth. So many guys that are able to get involved in the offense. But for Isaiah Bond to come in and join Jermaine Burton as such a major threat, and we saw it clearly in the championship game. Tell me, as a quarterback, when you don't have to look for just one guy, what that opens up for you.
It's huge because it puts that much more pressure on the defense. They can't take away just that one threat and be able to shut you down. They know that they have to be relatively balanced in what they're doing. They can't overcommit or they're going to get beat on the backside. And I tell you what, Jalen Milroe really does have that luxury of having multiple guys that he can go to. We've seen it throughout the course of the season. One particular person would step up in that game and really have a big game because of the matchup that he got. Jermaine Burton, it was against Texas A&M. Kobe Prentice has come on here of recently in the last several weeks and made a huge impact, especially in the SEC championship game. You're not even mentioning some of the tight end threats that we have as well that can match up on linebackers and safeties and really exploit those opportunities. But you're absolutely right. Isaiah Bond has stepped up into that number 1A, B slot and had played outstanding. He's been the go-to guy. Just get it into his radius, and he's going to find a way to come down with it.
He made the big catch in the SEC championship game, a beautiful grab. He's a really good option on 4th and 31, I've noticed
if
as well.
If you need it, he's there for that as well. He's a physical guy, can kind of juke some people in the back of the end zone. He's been outstanding there throughout the course of this season, creating separation. Just make it catchable, and he's going to find a way to go get it.
Just a few minutes away from Coach Nick Saban joining us. Stay with us. We're back with more from L.A. in just a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
They just get it off in time. Fires, quick slant. Burton, 10, 5, end zone. Touchdown, Alabama. Jermaine Burton on the 19-yard reception and run after the strike from Jalen Milroe. And Bama is back on top.
This is the CFP Rose Bowl preview show presented by Dunkin. Bama runs on Dunkin, and the Tide hoping to run into the college football playoff national championship game a little more than a week from now. But first things first, they have to take care of business against the Michigan Wolverines. And again, our coverage on the Crimson Tide Sports Network will begin at 1 o'clock Central Time, 1 o'clock here in Pasadena as the Tide gets set to take on the Michigan Wolverines. Excited about being in Rose Bowl Stadium as Bama is involved once again in the Final Four of college football. Our program is presented by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Right now, we pause 10 seconds so our local stations can identify themselves to you. Welcome to the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Clear.
Ball Playoff Preview Show, live from the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Presented by Dunkin. So close, we can taste it. Bama runs on Dunkin.
Welcome back, everybody, to the CFP Rose Bowl Preview Show presented by Dunkin. If you got a question for Coach Nick Saban, just give us a call on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline at 877-202-BAMA. Our program available not only on our great Crimson Tide Sports Network affiliate stations, but also through the UA Athletics social media feeds, X, RollTide.com, YouTube, and Facebook Live as well. We were in a break, and you couldn't hear the applause, but the man is indeed here. Coach Nick Saban, so glad to see you, sir.
Great to be here. Appreciate y'all coming out, supporting the team. It's great to see everyone. Good to see some Roll Tide folks around, man.
Coach, I made a trip out here 24 years ago with baseball. the first time I ever went to a postseason NCAA regional. We're playing at Stanford, and we got here on probably Tuesday before we actually played on Friday. And when it's Alabama football, you kind of think you know. But when I really learned what Alabama people are all about was when I pulled up on the Stanford campus or past it, and there were already 2 RVs on a Tuesday before a baseball regional on a Friday. I mean, the Bama following is amazing. I know you've experienced it for a long, long time, literally since you first landed in Tuscaloosa, but it's special to see it here, isn't it?
Well, it's special. It really is, but it's part of the tradition, and I think the tradition is what it is because of the people who support it, the passion that they have for it, and the great support that you've given it for so many years, and so many people have contributed way back with Coach Bryan and all that he was able to accomplish, and people have supported it for years, and I think it's important. I think the players, really appreciate the fact that it's important to you, what they do, how they do it, the work that they put in, and this team has really worked hard for the opportunity that they've created for themselves, and now it's all about trying to finish, and your support in helping us try to finish is really, really important and appreciated.
It's a special, unique opportunity, and yet how do you try to treat it for the players once you get to the practice field as normal as possible?
Well, I think that, the thing that I told the players, and you probably heard this before, is you got to stay committed to, what we came here for. You have opportunity to have a good time, which is a good thing. Get to go to Disneyland, get to go to Lowry's, get to do some of these things. And that's a great, positive reinforcement for the team and the players, and we want them to enjoy themselves. But we also want them to stay committed to, what we have to do, what we came here to do, and the preparation that it takes to be able to do that. And I think our players have done a pretty good job of that. So when we're in meetings, when we're on the practice field, we're focused on what we need to do to try to go out and play well.
Have you ever been viewed as a better grandfather than when you got an opportunity to take a grandchild in a parade at Disney a couple of days ago?
That was fun.
That's pretty big.
I always remember that. That was fun. That was really a unique experience, and it was fun. But, the other good thing about it was the fun thing about going in that parade, which was a first for me, was to see all the happy people. Everybody at Disneyland's happy. Everybody's got a smile on their face. Everybody's waving at you. Even, the people on the other team, they're waving at you. So it was really kind of uplifting to just see, people be happy and thankful and, be in a position where they're enjoying themselves.
We have fan bases wave all the time, Coach. They just don't use their whole hand sometimes when they do it. That's the difference in Disney and everywhere else, I guess.
I guess.
That's exactly where I expected you to go with that. Let's talk about how preparation has gone. What's it like in a game week situation out here?
Yeah, well, the players have been good. We had, I think, 7 practices at home, took 3 days for Christmas, and then, had 1 extra practice here. So, but we traveled and practiced in the same day because that's the best way to acclimate. And I think the players really have adapted well. I mean, the facility that we have to practice in has been good, and it's a 25-minute ride, but it's good. But just about everything out here is 25 minutes away. So, but it's been good. I mean, I think the players are focused. I think they've done a really good job in terms of the focus and concentration that they've had when we've been in meetings. And I think the key to the drill, though, now is, can you channel your emotional energy into your preparation? So that you can channel all that emotion in the right direction to have like discipline type emotion in terms of how you go out and execute in the game. I think that's really key when you play in a big game. Great players that played in big games, whether it's Michael Jordan when he was, a great finisher. I don't think they changed in big games. They just played through the pressure and they relied on their preparation to be able to make the plays they needed to make and in the moment. And I think that's, what players have to be able to do. You can't, you want to play with great intensity and it comes from emotional discipline, but you don't want to be emotional where you make bad choices and decisions, get penalties, jump off sides, do the wrong things. Those kind of things are not going to contribute to the kind of execution you need to be able to perform well in a game against a good team.
Talk briefly, if you would, about the health of the football team. I know Jason McClellan didn't play in the SEC championship. Had a couple of guys on the defensive side out for a few plays. Kool-Aid McKinstry. What's the overall health of the team right now?
I think everybody's good. Jace has been able to practice the whole time that we've been here. So I think he's developed confidence and he's not had any issues. Kool-Aid's been fine. We don't really have anybody out. We got some guys that are nicked up, but I think everybody will be able to play.
All right, Coach, we remind everybody again, the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline is open if they want to be a part of the show, 877-202-BAMA. Doesn't matter if we're in Tuscaloosa or if we're in L.A. We got to go to the real L.A., Lower Alabama, down in Grand Bay. Pee Wee, say hello to Coach.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well, Pee Wee. I forgot that you'd be calling us out here, but I'm glad you did.
Well, that's just what I do, Coach. I try to do what I'm supposed to do for you. My question is, Coach, when we face this Michigan team, they've got a very strong front seven. I'm just wondering, what are some of the things that they do and some of the challenges that they're going to present for our offense and our offensive line that we're going to face them on Monday?
Well, they do have a really good front seven. They really had some really good down guys. Inside players are really, really good, quick, explosive guys, good pass rushers. And they've been very successful, with the scheme that they run. They plug backers at times, but they play a lot of split safety coverages, do a lot of multiples of things that it's been good that we have a little extra time to prepare for it because I think it's been helpful to our players. The more you can expose players to what they're going to see in the game, I think that is very, very helpful. It's helpful to the quarterback, and Tyler can probably attest to that. When you get different looks and you get a chance to see multiple plays against those looks, that's very beneficial to you. It'll be challenging for us up front. I think being a more physical team is going to be a real important part of this, which starts on how you control the line of scrimmage. So they kind of pride themselves in that. We kind of pride ourselves in that. So it's going to be, a battle in the trenches for sure. And, but I feel comfortable that we have a good plan and the players will do a good job executing it.
Is the speed of these conferences, is that just a great myth? Because that's the first thing every fan always goes to. Well, the SEC is faster than the Big Ten. Is that a myth?
I don't know if it's a myth, but I think that there are schools in the Big Ten that have comparable speed to the Southeast Conference, and probably Ohio State and Michigan are probably the two schools right now that probably have those kinds of players. Their team is built like an SEC team. So if you looked at the conference from top to bottom, I might agree with you, but there are teams in the Big Ten that have comparable speed and athletes to SEC schools, and Michigan certainly does.
It's a long way from Tuscaloosa to Pasadena. It's a long way from Grand Bay to Calgary, Alberta, Canada as well. Lucas, you're next up here on our bowl preview show. Say hello to Coach Saban.
Hi, Coach Saban. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Lucas. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. First of all, I'm honored to talk to you. I've been an Alabama fan for a while now and came down from Canada for my first game this season against LSU, so I appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, how's the weather up there, man?
Oh, it's freezing, but the ball's coming, so it's fine. Anyways, Michigan's run game is one of the best in the country. They have multiple high-caliber running backs up they cycle. What kind of threat do you think it poses to our front seven, and how can we contain them? Thank you, and roll tide.
Repeat that.
Coach, I'm not exactly sure where he was going either. Tyler, did you catch all of that?
Something about how good they are running the football. How do we stop that?
Yeah, okay. Well, they do have, Corm is a really, really good running back, really power guy, low built to the ground, square guy, hard to tackle. They do run the ball effectively. This is kind of a pro-style team. Coach Harbaugh was an NFL guy, and they're kind of a pro-style team. Lots of multiple personnel groups, use a lot of tight ends in a game. Sort of a little bit similar to maybe Georgia, a couple years ago when they had all the tight ends. And try to present a lot of different formations, a lot of shifts, a lot of motions, but do a really, really good job of running the ball, have really good play-action passes to go with it, to try to make explosive plays down the field. And their quarterback is really, really good. And he's had a great year for him, and they've done a good job of spreading people out as well. So they have a lot of multiples in their offense that, make it challenging for the defense. But, our players are going to have to respond to each and every one of these looks because they create a bunch of them.
We're at the Intercontinental Hotel, downtown Los Angeles. It's the CFP Rose Bowl Preview Show presented by Dunkin. We continue with Coach Nick Saban in a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Ball is knocked free. It's picked up by Alabama, and rumbling in for the touchdown is the Crimson Tide's Jihad Campbell. We had just spoken about him taking advantage of playing time, and he gets the loose football that takes it on in.
You're listening to the CFP Rose Bowl Preview Show presented by Dunkin. Bama runs on Dunkin, and we run on from here at the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Coach Nick Saban here on stage, along with Tyler Watts. I'm Chris Stewart. Tom Stipe, our producer. Jerry Kelly is our studio engineer. And we've got a question, Coach, from here in the audience in the back of the room there. Go ahead, sir. What's your question?
Yes, good afternoon. Hello to Coach Saban. I knew Coach Saban from Kent State in the mid-'70s, and I bring congratulations from all of your teammates, your coaches, all the many folks that have known you throughout Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, and so forth. And we want to not only congratulate you on all the great things you're doing, but your long-term, and that's an important phrase there, your long-term athletic director and head coach, and of course that's Miss Terry. We want to we want to congratulate you all for what you're doing with the Terry, with the Saban Foundation and so forth. It's fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Yes,
sir.
We
have coffee cups at home, and one of them say Mr. Right, and the other one says Mrs. Always Right.
That explains some things, yes. And we, in addition to giving you congratulations from all those folks before this great game, I want to briefly introduce two of my friends that are big Alabama fans that came with me today from the Inland Empire, from Redlands, California. And over here we have a gentleman, Daniel Evers Everett, and his wife, Betty. And listen to this, they just got married yesterday. So let's give them a big round of applause.
Congratulations.
And they would not have missed this in a million years, so they're very proud to be here. And lastly, I want to congratulate you not only for reinforcing good character with your players, but reinforcing that the campus and our country as a community of people from all over the world. We should love each other. And you yourself embody unity, and you have enforced it and reinforced it. And we appreciate what you do in that regard very much.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that very much. So can I ask you a question, sir? I mean, do we really know each other back at Kent State, or you were just there when
Oh, my goodness, yes. I was a walk-on in 1975.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Paul Palsa, and I have one of those funny names. It's a Slovak ethnicity. A lot of us from back there. And but anyway, I like to say that Coach Saban saw my greatest catches, and people say, "Wow, that's amazing." And then I have to add, well, it was on Tuesdays and Wednesdays against his first-team defense in practice. So,
hey, was he as good of a DB as he claims to be?
Well, yeah, yes, I would have to say so. And very hands-on and very intense. And needless to say, one of his teammates at Kent State was Jack Lambert of the Steelers, now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, but yes, he was very, very intense, and I was proud to burn his first-team defense on a number of occasions. And
yes. I wasn't always happy about that. You probably did, right?
Coach, how special to encounter people like that as you go through your career that may have come across your life at some point at different stages? Because I know you talked about how people impact and affect and help you get to where you are, but to get a chance literally in a setting like this to get to know somebody from several years ago or see somebody like that, it's got to mean a lot to you.
Well, it does, but I just wanted to make sure he didn't know me when I was doing dumb stuff, that's all. Like some of us did when we were in college. But no, it's always great. Relationships are really, really important, I think. It's one of the things that make life worthwhile in a lot of ways. So when you contact people and they are a part of your family for a long, long time in terms of the relationships that you have with them, I think that's something that we should all be very thankful for, and I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the fact that maybe there's something that we've done through the years in terms of helping players be more successful in their life. That's always been kind of the goal. Coach James was that way when I was a player. That's what he kind of taught us, that the most important thing that you can learn from being an athlete and a player in a competitive situation is these things can help you be more successful in life. And that's one of the things that I always took from him as a coach, and I've always tried to implement in our program in terms of personal development, character, guys graduating, preparing themselves for when they can't play football, and also, trying to develop a career as a player in terms of what it takes in terms of hard work, discipline, ability to overcome adversity, resiliency, pride in performance. I mean, there's so many things that we all can learn, as athletes that can carry over into being good parents and successful people in life, and that's one of the things we always try to do with our players and our teams. And that value is something I think that's helped us be successful through the years because players realize that and appreciate it.
877-202-BAMA. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us on the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline like Jason has done in Alpine, Alabama. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Coach, roll tide.
Roll tide, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. Look, so I'm a lake guy. I know you live on the lake. I'm a lake guy, so I enjoy that. I'm going to go off script a little bit, ask a couple questions.
Okay.
One, when was the last time you and Miss Terry got to get out there on jet skis and just rip it up a little bit? And two,
the last time we were at the lake. Go ahead, two,
when you get on the boat, it's just you and Miss Terry, and the sun's going down. What is your go-to song?
Well, we got a lot of them, man. I mean, we listen to music all the time on the boat. So we have boat music. A lot of Eagles, a lot of Michael Jackson, a lot of Rolling Stones. Lots of good music. But Nicholas, my son, and Samira, they're in the new generation, and Kristen, so they have their songs that we have to add, like Business, and what's the other one I like, Samira? What's that one? Oh, Dance Monkey. Yeah, I mean, so. They bring some new life to the party from the 70s.
Dance monkey. Be looking that one up later on. All right, good deal. Quickly, we go to Huntsville. Larry, you're next up. How you doing, Larry?
Hey, Coach Saban, how you doing tonight?
Good, Larry. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Just to give a little background, me and my brother-in-law, we've been ushers down there at Bryant-Denny Stadium for the last 3 years, and we've not missed one A-Day game since we stepped foot on the gridiron for the Crimson Tide, and we've supported you and everyone at for Alabama, but just wanted to let you know we appreciate everything that you and Miss Terry have done over the last several years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and we appreciate you. If you worked in the stadium for that long at the games, that's something special, and I hope we had a few that you enjoyed.
Yes, sir. It's been great to work that and support everyone, and so. But my question tonight, Coach, is about you. And I'm 68 years old, and I have a little insight as to how much it takes to be committed and doing the things that you need to do, just like you said, to be the best that you could possibly be. And that's something that I've always strived to do in my life. And I just want to ask you a question right now. How are you doing, Coach? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Please tell us you're okay.
I'm doing just fine. No, it's I appreciate the fact that you're 68, and I can relate. And you know, when you get a little older, sometimes you don't sleep as well as you used to, and things like that. But we've learned to overcome all those things, and we're doing just fine.
We're back with the Dance Monkey and more right after this on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Defeats Auburn 33-24 and will play Georgia for an SEC championship and a possible shot at the playoffs. And folks, from a guy who knows a little something about comebacks, from where this Bama team was after the Texas game in week 2 to where they stand now, one simple word comes to mind: remarkable.
Remarkable indeed, as the Tide finds themselves now in Pasadena, actually at the moment, downtown Los Angeles at the Intercontinental Hotel, getting set for the Rose Bowl. It's our CFP preview show presented by Dunkin. Chris Stewart along with Tyler Watson, of course, head coach Nick Saban. And, Coach, our second question from the audience here at the Intercontinental is in the back of the room right now. It's a gentleman, maybe a little tough to see. He's a youngster back there. Go ahead, buddy.
Hello, my name is Marin, and I have a little question for you.
Okay.
I play soccer, and they teach me eye coordination. So, and I know you're teaching your defense eye discipline. So, can you teach me a little bit about that and why it's so important in Roll Tide?
Really good. Roll
Good.
Tide, buddy.
Well, I've defined discipline, and I think in sports, looking at the right thing, discipline, eye control. Probably heard it before. I don't care if you're playing soccer, you're playing football, you're playing baseball, basketball, it doesn't matter what the sport is. To be able to look at the right things is like most important. Well, that takes a lot of self-discipline. And maybe you haven't heard me define self-discipline, but I do this all the time with our players. Self-discipline is there's something over here that I know I'm supposed to do that I really don't want to do. Can you make yourself do it? And over here, there's something you know you're not supposed to do, but you want to do it. Can you keep yourself from it? So if you can make those choices and decisions the right way, you're always going to stay on the right path of being able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, whatever your goals are, and whatever you're trying to do to accomplish those goals. So you talk about discipline, but it starts with self-discipline. Because if you don't make those choices and decisions right, you're not going to be looking at the right thing. You're not going to be doing the right thing. You're not going to be executing for your teammates like they expect you to. So it's important to be a very disciplined person.
Fantastic, Coach. This segment of the CFP Rose Bowl preview show brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. With zero sugar and refreshingly delicious, is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Well, find out for yourself. We go back to the phones in the Yellowhammer Brewing Hotline. Let's go to Cummings, Georgia. Nathan is next up. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Coach. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Nathan. How are you?
Good. With the break happening here against Michigan, how do you use this time? How are you using the time until the Rose Bowl? You're not using that time between games to get the team ready.
How do you use the time between games to get your squad ready, get ready for this Rose Bowl?
Well, we used to try to practice our way to the game, Nathan. In other words, the first 5 bowl games that I ever coached in as a head coach, we lost because it was like a month, and we would try to practice our way to the game. In other words, we'd have a couple, 3 practices, then we'd go recruiting for 3 or 4 days, then we'd come back and have some more practices, and then we'd go recruiting again. And it just dragged out, and it seemed like we were practicing forever. So the way we've done it for ever since I was at LSU is, we say this is like a 1-game season, and therefore we're going to have 11 or 12 practices, but we're not going to start having those practices until we count back from whenever we're playing in the game. So the players actually had, from the SEC championship game to when we started practicing, 2 weeks, which, they have little individual programs that they do, and we have a couple days where we have 7-on-7. But basically, the coaches are recruiting, the players are going to school, the players are taking finals, and they're doing some conditioning type stuff. And then when we practice, we have 3 days of what we call camp-type practices where we're really working on fundamentals, tackling, blocking, things like that, not really focused on an opponent. And then for 4 days while we're at home before Christmas, we kind of go through the game plan, trying to get ready for our opponent, which in this case is Michigan. Then we take 3 days off for Christmas, and then we go through the same sort of protocol when we get here again and having a normal week of preparation for the game. We tweak some things and add some things and take some things out that we didn't like, but that's basically how we do it. And it's worked out pretty well for us. We've had a reasonable amount of success in a lot of these games, but I do think the players like it that way better. It doesn't drag out for them. I do think you can practice too long for one opponent, and people start getting a little bored with what you're going over and over again. So this has worked out pretty well for us, and hopefully our players will show that it's worked out again well for us this year.
Coach, you got a lot of early enrollees and some transfers that are out here with you as well, and obviously they're not able to help you in the game, but is this practice for them where they get acclimated and understanding how you do things before they get into spring ball for the first time?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for the mid-year guys, and I don't know exactly how many guys we have out there that are practicing, but a dozen or more probably. And it is a good opportunity for them to see what a college practice is like, see how competitive it is. Usually the tempo of practice is a little more than what they're used to. The number of reps you get in practice is more than what they're used to. But the one thing that it does contribute to, if they were there for the 3 fundamental days that we had, we were able to coach them quite a bit. But I tell them before they ever come that we can only coach the guys that can play in the game and get them ready for the game, so they're going to have to be on the scout team. But even being on the scout team is a good experience for them, and it does help the quality of reps that we get because we've got, better quality of player, that has given us a look. So, I remember last year when, Justice was running back as a freshman, and he was there. I mean, we had trouble tackling him on defense. I was like concerned about how we going to play in this game. But that was good preparation for our players, and it's a good experience for the new players to have the opportunity to learn how you lift weights, to learn how you do flex, to learn how practice goes, to learn the drills that you do in practice to try to make you better. So there is, quite a bit of benefit to these guys being here.
Tom, do we need to go to young man out here? Let's do that. We got another question from the audience, Coach.
As this team has improved throughout this season, what makes you the most proud as their head coach?
I think the fact that they, did improve as much as they did. I think, getting off to a not so good start, this season after the Texas and South Florida games where we didn't play very well. I think it really showed the pride and the standard of performance that the players wanted to achieve and how they all sort of committed to it and committed to each other to do the things that they needed to do to develop into a quality team. And I think the coaches did the same thing. I think we all worked hard to try to fix the things that we needed to fix so that we could be a better team, and I think the players bought into it. We've got good leadership on this team. This is a team that we don't have a lot of, I call them energy vampires, guys that don't do what they're supposed to do. Everybody kind of buys into the principles and values of the organization. Everybody's positive every day about how they practice and how they work. Guys try to be responsible to do their job. So accountability is a big part of that, and I think the resiliency that this team showed throughout the course of the season and overcoming a lot of adversity is a special characteristic of, any really good team. So I'm really, really proud of all those things because they could have packed it in. They could have started pointing the fingers at each other, and they didn't. They all came together, and everybody worked hard to try to help everybody be better, and it paid off for us in the long run. So I'm really proud of the fact that the players all did that. Coach, it's kind of special.
Coach, we got one more phone call in this segment. Let's go to Birmingham, and Steve, you're on with Coach.
Yeah, guys, thanks for taking my call. Coach, I just first of all wanted to wish you and the team good luck in the game on Monday.
Well, thank you, Steve.
And I just wanted to get you to comment. A football team has a lot of different players, probably counting walk-ons, over 100, 120 players. and each person is different, particularly their personality. How difficult is it to get to know the players as far as what motivates each individual player? And do you find that the position that they play on the team, say the quarterbacks are easier to motivate or more difficult to motivate as opposed to maybe defensive players? Is there any kind of difference there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of difference in players, and I think that difference is growing. I think, maybe back when I played, you just did what the coach said, and you didn't question anything, and, you just thought that's the way it was supposed to be, and, your respect for authority, overrode any question that you would have about what you did. But I do think that, players have different types of personalities, and I think one of the best things we've done through the years, because probably 25 years ago we started a mental conditioning program for players. We have psychiatrists, sports psychologists, and they talk to the players, and we find out what kind of personality a player actually has. If you have an obsessive compulsive guy, he's beating off himself every time he makes a mistake, so he certainly doesn't need the coach to get on him, but he does need to be taught, and maybe that guy needs to be taught in a different way than a guy who's not a self-starter, who needs to be motivated and pushed along to do the things that he's capable of doing. So every personality type is different. I think that's one of the things that I learned coaching in the NFL, that in college, when I coached in college before I went to the NFL, I coached every player the same. I treated them the same. I coached them the same. I was hard on everybody. It didn't matter what the personality type was or how they responded to it. I taught them all the same techniques, so the guys that could do the techniques that I coached they got to play, and the guys that maybe couldn't do those techniques as well, they didn't get to play. And then you go to the NFL and you find out when the owner pays a guy, he's playing. Doesn't matter if he's got the personality type that you like, you got to get to him, because if you don't get him to play good, it might be you losing your job. Probably not going to be him. So there was different personality types. There were different style of players. When I was at the Cleveland Browns, we had, Emerson Walls was one corner and Frank Minifield was the other. One guy was 5'10" with quick feet, change of direction, could really, and the other guy was 6'2.5" and didn't have quick feet, but he was a great player and led the league in interceptions. But they were completely different style players. So you had to learn how to coach every player different based on their style and what they could do and their personality and how you could motivate them, because it was important to them to get the best out of their career because it extended their career and how much money they could make. But it was also important to you in terms of your team being successful to get all those guys to play well. So that's one of the lessons that I learned in the NFL that we've carried over into college. And I think through the years, we've gotten a lot of different personality type guys to play well because of the information that we were able to get on what types of people they were and how you could motivate them.
Coach, we'll take one more break and come back with more in a moment here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Line getting in, I do believe, for a touchdown. Roy Dale Williams, touchdown Alabama. 5:47 remains, and now it is 26-17 officially.
And this is the College Football Playoff Rose Bowl preview show presented by Dunkin. Bama runs on Dunkin. Tyler White's the former Bama quarterback, and of course our broadcast partner on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, here on the stage at the Intercontinental Hotel with me, Chris Stewart, and Coach Nick Saban. Tyler, what have you got for Coach?
Well, just in these big type games, I mean, you've played 13-plus games leading up to this point, playing against an extremely aggressive, very good defensive unit on Michigan, an offense that doesn't play from behind. They control the line of scrimmage, control the pace of play. These big games, though, can you change who you are as far as what you're expecting from them or what you can change to become, or is it just strictly come down to execution?
Well, I don't think you can change who you are. I think that that's one of the things that I would emphasize to our players is be who you are. We got here being who we are, doing the things that we do well. We have a lot of diversity on offense in terms of the players and how we use them and the different personnel groups that we have. And, you know, we played best on defense this year when we've, been, pretty straightforward in how we do things, because when we haven't played well, it's because we make a lot of mental errors, and a lot of times you make a lot of mental errors when you have too much stuff that you're trying to adjust the formations and all the things that the other team does. So I don't think you can change who you are. I think you can change what you do a little bit to try to give the other team some wrinkles that maybe they haven't seen. But I don't think you can change who you are. You got here by being who you are, and I think it's important for us to be physical. I mean, our guys have to play with great toughness and intensity, but they got to be focused on doing their job and executing. All 11 guys, because when they do that, they usually play pretty well. When we don't do that, we can be pretty average. So when you're playing against a good team, you can't have, drive-stopping mistakes on offense, and you can't give people things on defense by whether it's pass interference, penalties, roughing the passer, whatever, making mental errors that allow people to make big plays. I mean, all those things have a tremendous impact on the outcome of the game, and you got to be who you are. And the one thing we've done a pretty good job of is we haven't turned the ball over. That was important in the Georgia game, and it's important in a lot of the big games that we played this year, and it's going to be important in this game as well.
Coach, as you know, the final word is presented by Mercedes-Benz. The vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. Coach, what have you got for us?
Well, this team, I think everybody needs to appreciate, and I think they do, and they made comment about it several times, how much this team improved and how hard they worked to do it. And I think one of the motivating factors was, everybody talks about the naysayers out there, let the naysayers know, and all that kind of stuff. But it was the choice of the players on the team to do the things that they had to do to make it difficult and inconvenient for every game that we played for the other team. And we fought and we scratched and we showed great resiliency all year long, whether it was coming back, in the second half against Ole Miss or Tennessee or whatever. So I'm really, really proud of this team, and I want everybody to support the heck out of this team in this game. I know it's a long ways from Alabama to come out here, but they deserve the respect that everybody can give them. And, they've worked hard to get ready for this game, and it's going to be a challenging game for us. But I like the fact that we have to prove that we can finish. That's what we've talked to the players about. You really, what is respect? Respect is, how does somebody regard you? That really what it amounts to. Well, if you don't finish, all these things that we've developed through the course of the year with the hard work that we've done and the things that we've done to get to where we are right now, if we don't finish, you really don't get much currency for not finishing the way you need to finish. And I think that's the most important thing for this team right now, and it's going to come down to channeling all those emotions into positive execution. And the support that we get from our fans has always been something that has been very helpful to our players, their energy, their enthusiasm, and how we go out and play. So I'm sure it's going to be the same thing in the Rose Bowl, this year and against a good team. And look, the fans have been great all year. I appreciate all the support that you've given us, and I think you've been a big inspiration to this team by sticking with them and supporting them through thick and thin this year. And now we got a great opportunity to try to finish and accomplish something special. So stay with us and keep going and keep helping us, and we appreciate it as much as more than you know.
Coach, we always appreciate you, and if it's not being greedy, can we do this again next week?
I'd love to, man. That's what we've been working for. That's what that's the goal.
Thank you for the time, Coach. We appreciate you so very much. Coach Nick Saban, everybody. You're listening to the CFP Rose Bowl preview show presented by Dunkin, live from the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and we return in a moment on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.